Welcome back to another episode of Geek Centurions. It's me and Joey here.
Yeah, how's it going? It's been another week, a new episode.
Yeah, and speaking of episodes, one of the shows that we talked about last year, has come back. The good old Mandolorian.
Yes.
Mando.
Yeah, season 2 came out last week, and I just caught up with the first 2 episodes because they release a new one every Friday.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't get a chance to get to watch the first episode of this new season, so we decided, you want to just do like every 2 episodes?
Yeah, do a 2-episode recap kind of thing, right? Sort of like similar to the Watchmen stuff we did last year.
Yeah, that was it. And so we're going to be talking about that. And, I'll say this, the first episode's already out the weekend, so I think there's enough time for us to talk a little bit of spoilers in that one. The new episode will hold back. Well, essentially, I feel like the second episode didn't have much to do.
Yeah, I can see that. But, it's sort of a, it's very sort of like, it's like one of those sort of like episodes that don't really matter, but it still kind of pushes the plot. Right?
Mm-hmm. There's something going on. It's like, what was that episode? Oh, never mind, because I was like, because there was at least 2 episodes that had nothing to do with each other. But the one I'm probably thinking about is the one where they introduced Gina Corona's character, the one with the village.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like she ended up being pivotal towards the end, even though that story wasn't really that great.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about the first episode right now, and then we'll move on to the second episode, and then we'll give like at least 10 minutes of our thoughts, but maybe less. But Joey, what were your thoughts on the first episode? Of what were things that you liked, things that you didn't like, things that you were surprised about in the first episode?
All right, so first episode, we come back. Mando's trying to find other Mandalorians, right, to help him, find, Baby Yoda. I mean, he's called the child, but I think everybody's just gonna keep calling him Baby Yoda.
So we give him an actual name.
Until he gets a real name, we're just gonna keep calling him Baby Yoda. So he's gonna just go out, find any Jedi that can help raise him or whatever. And he goes to Tatooine again because apparently
everything's gotta go back to Tatooine.
Yeah, apparently
because we're Star Wars.
Yeah, everything goes back to Tatooine somehow. And he meets, instead of finding a Mandalorian, he finds a dude with Mandalorian armor. It's very familiar looking armor. I won't say. I don't know. Should I just say?
I think everyone pretty much knows now.
Okay. Basically, he's a sheriff of this town, Moist Josley, or.
It's another Moss thing.
Yeah, it's like a Moss something, but he basically has a Boba Fett's armor, or at least what remains of Boba Fett's armor, which is definitely one of the biggest things that already happened in the show. First episode, you just have Boba's armor. Mm-hmm. And, you have a guy who has Boba's armor now. It's like, whoa, all right,
okay, I like where this is going. Yeah,
and basically Mando's like, hey, Mandalorian code, I gotta take that back. He's like, but I really need it though. But yeah, it sort of kind of just turns into another the Mandalorian has to go help help out certain people in order to get something that he needs.
It's super. The first episode is super Western.
Oh yeah, it's super Western.
I mean, I didn't know this, but apparently that actor is known for always playing like a sheriff or a deputy or whatever.
I don't know. I assumed he was supposed to be some important actor. I just didn't know.
I mean, it's an actor that we haven't seen. He's been in a lot of other ones. Apparently, he voiced Clint Eastwood in Rango.
Was Clint Eastwood in the Rango movie?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was, the man with no name, but he voiced that character instead of Clint Eastwood.
That's fine. But yeah, no. So basically, Mando teams up with this sheriff along with a bunch of Tusken Raiders to stop a giant.
Can I say I really like the fact that we finally understand how their language works.
Oh, the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting look at their culture kind of thing because Mando talks Tusken, I guess.
And it includes sign language and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting look because yeah, obviously like the sheriff in his town aren't like really friendly with the Tusken Raiders because
yeah,
they do the raiding and all that stuff. But yeah, they all have to pretty much be
I mean, look how Anakin reacted.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's why I killed him. Not just the men, but the women and the children.
Listen, just because
I hate them.
Just because Anakin's mom died didn't justify him going full genocide on an entire village of Tusken Raiders.
No, but you gotta show off the rage of Darth Vader.
Yeah, okay. But
Sure.
back on topic, they all have to join forces to stop a what was it, like a
Crate Dragon.
Crate Dragon.
Which, wow, that Disney money is going to work.
Yeah, I'm like, again, I'm continually surprised how much the special effects in this show, like does wonders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you are, it feels shocking that like the how good the special effects are in the show.
Yeah, and because like you're not used to seeing that level of CG in most TV. Now, even in streaming shows, they don't put that much effort.
I feel like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was gonna go right there too.
Like even in the beginning, Game of Thrones didn't have a lot of that stuff until like the later seasons where it was already making bank. So they were just like, all right, let's expand the budget a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for like the dragons and stuff.
Yeah, that's where I think a lot of TV started realizing, oh, we could do movie quality stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a pretty exciting first episode. Getting back into the swing of things, and Mando takes the armor back. Everybody's sort of like kind of friends a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's sort of the first episode of Mandalorian. It starts off pretty on the ground running. There's a lot of sort of like. Yeah, this is why people like the Mandalorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
It scratches like a Western itch, but it also being Star Wars and that sort of stuff.
It has the fun in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good old like fun, right?
Yeah. So what's the thing you didn't like?
I don't know. Like, I can't really say that there wasn't anything I didn't like in the first episode. I think it was just a really good first like return. Second season, right? Yeah, like I don't know. I don't see. It didn't seem to me that there was any sort of like negative thing, in my opinion, for it.
So that's all you have? Anything else you want to say?
Oh no, I mean I just thought it was a really good first episode. It hits all the marks for the second season, and I think. Oh, you're right. I forgot. The setup at the end, right? Because as Mando's driving off on his speeder bike back to Mos Eisley,
just like a good old Western.
Yeah, like
as the sun sets.
Yeah, as the twin suns set on Tatooine, like there's a guy in some robes and a hood, like looking out, and you get to see his face. And from what you told me, that apparently is Boba Fett.
Yeah, because that's the same actor from the movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's hard to tell because he's aged and he doesn't have hair.
Yeah.
But that's Boba.
So that to me makes me wonder: what are they gonna do with Boba?
Because like Boba has always been that. Oh man, he's so cool, but he's kind of really didn't do anything. Movie wise,
in the shows they do give him a little bit of stuff to do. Like in Clone Wars, you get to see Kid Boba do stuff, and I'm assuming in like various other expanded lore, like Boba does get to do some bounty hunter stuff. But in terms of the movies, and if you only watch the movies, Boba Fett is just kind of like a character that looks really cool and really doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the things where I wish Kevin's still on his business stuff. So he knows more about Boba Fett than I would, and because I remember in Clone Wars they talked about he's not a true Mandalorian, so I was like, are we gonna delve into that bit?
I mean, yeah, that'd be super interesting. If that is like, yeah, I just like it'd be kind of interesting to see like maybe like Boba tracking Mando since he has his armor. He's like, I want my armor back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be interesting as to see like because they've always been wanting to do like a Boba Fett solo movie.
I think that was the intention for this series at first, wasn't it?
I don't recall. I think they did want to make a Boba Fett solo film with what was his name?
The actor who played him.
I don't know if it's the actor who played him or a younger actor. You know, but it was supposed to be directed by the same guy that directed the Fan Four Stick movie.
Ooh.
To be fair, like they hadn't even entered like pre-production yet. He was just like he was hired, and as soon as he was done with the Fan Four Stick, he was going to work on it. But obviously, that movie did not turn out well for him, and he was, you know, like fired from that job, and eventually the Boba Fett solo film, I think, has either entered into development hell or been scrapped completely. I haven't like
it is been written off from the world.
Okay.
I haven't looked it up. I'm guessing.
I mean, you know, either way, I don't think there's any. It's not in current development, especially you know nowadays, considering the state of the world. It'd probably be hard to try to pull off a movie like that. I mean, even then, I think wasn't it after Solo bombed? They were like, we're probably not gonna make more of these sort of like spin-off Star Wars films, right?
No, it's not for another while.
Like, yeah, they're like, we'll put a pause on that. We'll focus on any like just finishing the sequel trilogy or whatever. That's why. What was it? Yeah, I think that's why. I think they were gonna plan some other stuff, and then that fell to the wayside.
Yeah, because I could have sworn wasn't the Kenobi thing supposed to be a movie at first?
I think I don't know. I think it was rumored to be a movie. I don't think it was 100% confirmed, but you know, eventually now that's being a Disney Plus show that's being currently developed,
which I'm still excited for.
Yeah, it can be interesting. But yeah, no, it's but yeah, no, I just think Boba's inclusion in the series could be very interesting. Like maybe instead of it could be a weird thing where like this is an aged Boba who's been through a lot, you know, surviving.
Well, isn't Boba a clone though?
I mean, yeah, but the clones aged in Rebels.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I remember that. Sorry.
Yeah, but this could be like a very like an aged Boba, you know, just sort of like wandering around, being like, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if this is like.
What do you want to see where that can go? If it hopefully leads to something.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird. It'd be kind of interesting if like in a later episode we see Boba donning his old armor again and like helping the Mandalorian out,
or against.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah. And so that's I'm guessing that's all you have on the.
On the first episode, yeah.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. Personally, literally the first few minutes of the episode really like it reminded me why I love the Mandalorian so much. It's that bounty hunter lifestyle that I'm like so invested in because like in the first episode he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like he in the sequence where he ties a dude up and like he just once he gets his information, he just literally leaves him to the dogs, and just like, oh he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh he dead. that was some cold blooded shit, and I'm like, yo, that is what I want. Because like that's that's kind of what I expected from him, like because he's a bounty hunter,
right?
And like that you got to be doing some
shady stuff.
You gotta be doing some shady stuff, which is why I was kind of disappointed in like what was it, the episode with Bill Barr, where like he didn't kill them all instead of just arrested them. That because the whole sequence felt like a murder thing going on, but I guess it didn't go through. But the rest of the episode is very has moments of like showing off. Yes, we have money. Look at the cinematography. Good lord, that is an amazing cinematography. There are moments where my jaw just dropped, especially when the Great Dragon was like in the scene and you saw what he could do, and I'm like, holy shit! And you talked about earlier how it reminds you much of Dune.
Yeah. I mean, Dune or what was it? Tremors.
Yeah.
Tremors probably the more well-known one, just because it's just a giant. It looks like a giant sandworm, even though we call it a Krayt dragon. It looks like a giant worm to me.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, personally for me, I don't say this is a negative. It just feels more like a nitpick. Just going back to Tatooine, it was just like literally when they said you gotta go to Tatooine, I was like, do we really have to go back to Tatooine? I want to explore more planets. I want to see more stuff. And we just keep going back to the same good old stuff. But I will say this: they don't like force feed you it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's Tatooine being there just more. I think it's just sort of like pandering to like.
I would say it's slightly pandering is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem if like visiting old locations, especially since this is a Tatooine in like the post Return of the Jedi scenario. So, I mean, granted, we don't see a whole lot, obviously, but of Tatooine half the time. Like, we don't, go back to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's little farm thing, moisture farm, or whatever. But I mean, yeah, it's certainly kind of an interesting look, considering like the time period that Mandalorian is set in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't. It's not. It's not in a way that's annoying. It's more, hey, this is just the location. We're not gonna do anything more. We're just gonna go back for some stuff, and it ties up very well. I like the situation. The thing that makes it very Western for me is one. Yeah, it's Tatooine. You're gonna get that desert feeling, Old West. But like they're just sequences where. Man, I feel like I'm watching like some spaghetti western shit. It's like when the Mando meets the sheriff or whatever, or the marshal, and they're just like talking in the bar, getting ready to do a quick draw.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, okay, this is. I'm getting a real western vibe, and I love that because that's what I love about Mando. It's Star Wars, but it has a different feel to it.
Yeah,
and you get throughout the whole thing, it feels like that. And the Boba stuff, I'm intrigued, but at the same time, I'm worried that we don't go too far into the nostalgia factor because that's that's one of the big things that really hurt the sequel movies. They were full hard nostalgia.
Yeah, I can understand that, and not wanting to lean too hard into like this Star Wars nostalgia for like a show, especially like. One that's set after the original trilogy. I do think that's like one of the big strong points of Mando is that we don't lean too hard into nostalgia, right? Because like the first season, we barely have any of that stuff. I mean, obviously we go back to Tatooine, but we don't dwell. You don't have. There's not a moment where you dwell into. Oh, hey, we're back on Tatooine because it's. Cause I think the people running the show are just sort of like. Yeah, it's Tatooine. We've all seen this before. Let's just...
it's just one big sand planet.
Yeah, let's just use it as a setting point and, let's just do our story or whatever. And, I mean, with Boba, I hope it's, there is... I at least hope there's, like, a bit more to it just because Boba doesn't really have, at least in my opinion, at least in mainstream pop culture, he doesn't have a whole lot of, defining character moments. So it'd be interesting to see that kind of stuff happen here.
He just stood there and looked cool.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see some, interesting character development in the show.
Yeah, and that's really all I have to say. Because, like, I mean, I'm praising the look, the feel, but I'm not giving it like an all-star rating because it's still pretty early. And I'm not really to give it like I'm not trying to give it too much praise. I'm trying to give it a reasonable praise.
I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's a solid first episode for this new season, and I think it can only go up.
let me ask you this: did you feel like it dragged a bit? I feel like this episode was a lot longer than most episodes.
I mean, I feel like with some of these sort of, because hold on, how long is
Episode 2 was at least like 30, almost near 40 minutes long.
No, I mean, like, how many episodes was season 1? It was 8, right?
Yeah, it was 8.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of these sort of streaming series that have like very kind of like a short episode list, they usually have like at least kind of like an hour long like
yeah, it was
episode.
6 minutes short from being a full hour.
Yeah, and then consequently other episodes range in the 40 to 50 minute mark. So I mean, I can kind of understand like compared to some of the previous episodes or like it being a bit longer, but I mean, I think it's just sort of par for the course for a lot of these sort of like premiere style, like high budget TV like shows.
Streaming shows, yeah.
TV streaming shows, yeah.
Yeah, and I get that. And it's pretty good. And I would give it I guess we gotta give it a rating. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I guess same. First episode, 8 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that it felt like for me like it dragged a bit. But you know, I wasn't bored at any time. I was invested.
Yeah.
All right, second episode. Yeah. Not much for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the second episode is a bit more. It's a bit more episodic, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still. The
other thing I was also thinking about, like this is more episodic. It's not serialized. He's always on a different adventure. Always doing something different.
Yeah, but it still has an overarching plot kind of thing. So yeah, the second episode is mainly about he's still continuing the quest. He gets a tip that there might be some Mandalorians on this certain planet, but he has to but the person who gave him the tip is this frog creature thing.
Yeah, frog alien.
Yeah, who Mando has to like basically transport to the planet because she's having like a weird mating cycle thing, and she needs to be there or whatever.
Yeah, and they're really trying to and he's got to get her in time. He can't do any hyperspeed because it could ruin the eggs.
Right.
Because she's carrying the eggs.
Yeah, the eggs are in like a separate like little water basket thing or whatever, and they're like, if you go hyperspace, it'll probably destroy all the eggs. So you can't do that. You gotta travel regular speed. Granted, it's not that far from Tatooine, but it's still sort of a
journey.
It's a journey, and it's a danger for him because he's like, that's how I've been like making sure no one catches me. Just going hyperspace, not having my ship transmit any signals, and
he ends up getting caught.
Yeah,
which we're again. I don't think we're gonna go spend too much time on it, but essentially, they dilute. It causes a lot of stuff, and there's I'll say this: there's some neat callbacks,
right?
With a certain character that we thought was dead. Well, he is dead, but he still has an effect around. But I feel like this is more. I feel like this episode is more meant to be a chill episode. Like there's nothing big happens, nothing important happens. You're just trying to get through.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. It's a very sort of like
filler.
Yeah, I guess it could be filler. Mainly because it feels like it's Mando being put into this scenario of it's just I think it's sort of a classic scenario. You put the Mandalorian where he sort of like. Well, he is reluctantly trying, like, having to be a good person to, like, sort of the side character of the episode. He's like, fine, I guess I gotta do this now, or whatever. Showing that he's a bounty hunter, but, like, he has a bit of a
moral compass
when it comes to things. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't spend too much time in this. Rather, it feels like by the next week's episode, we at least get some sort of conclusion.
Yeah, because we don't get to the end. Like, they don't get to the planet at the end of the episode,
which isn't a spoiler, because like,
yeah, it's not that huge of a spoiler, I don't think. But yeah, it definitely. I think in my opinion, I think it just I think it's just solid, right?
Yeah. I think it's a little weaker than the first episode. I think it's because the first episode blew our minds, and it really gave us that feel of Mandalorian that we've been itching on.
I think the first episode compared to the second episode, I think it's just the first episode. I think definitely, got out like started out of the gate like really like on like with a lot of action, right? There's the whole crate dragon thing. You have Boba's armor. You have a lot of these sort of like interesting things, both callbacks to the original trilogy and also some new interesting stuff. So to come with the second episode to be sort of this more relaxed, subdued kind of episode, I can definitely understand why some people would be sort of like, it's okay, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a bad episode. It's a good episode. They're showing off their budget.
Yeah, because there is a certain sequence at the end that's sort of like kind of crazy, and I mean the frog person suit is pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good suit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. Heck, I would say this. There's even some alien feels in the movie Alien. For a second there, I thought a xenomorph was about to pop up.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're talking about. But yeah, I think it was just a very sort of solid episode.
Any negatives?
I mean, I guess like the only negative I can say is that, I guess it when what I said earlier of, it feels like it just sort of once again reiterating just that Mando is a bounty hunter. He can be ruthless, but he also has a more accomplice, and he sort of reluctantly helps people, And I think I feel like we've seen that plot like a bit. That plot was definitely like a huge part of the sort of plot of the entire series, right? Because he's protecting this child who he was supposed to, turn in, right? And he's sort of like, no, this isn't right. I can't do this, sort of thing. So I don't know. It feels a bit, I guess, repetitive to once again have this pop up. But at the same time, it's sort of just like I guess it's sort of like a necessary kind of thing, especially if you're setting the story up like this.
I think it depends on how often we're gonna do this. Because like if every other episode is gonna be him reluctantly helping someone out again, it's gonna get tiresome.
Yeah. Like
we will see it coming a mile away. I think that's one, like, going back to that village episode. I think that's one of the things that really made me go like, because I'm like, I know where this is going. Okay. But at least they kind of made it interesting a bit, giving us like a Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven feel with that. Here it's just more like, I'd say more of again aliens kind of a feel.
Yeah.
But I just miss the Western. I love it when it acts like a Western bounty hunter stuff. I think that's where its strongest suits are. Not to say that it's inherently a bad thing, but it's. I think that's what caught me. That's always caught me. So whenever we're doing stuff that feels more of him doing, I'm not hating on it, but it's more like, man, I just want to see this dude be ruthless.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah, like I think the action in The Mandalorian is definitely one of its strongest suits. The Western aesthetics it takes and adapts into the Star Wars mythos is super cool to see. And it just the whole first season just oozed a lot of Western in it, and it still has that, especially in the first episode. So I can definitely understand why this second episode, again, it could seem to be sort of like, okay, we're doing this bit again. Okay, well, at least we'll get to see a little bit of interesting action, and hopefully, wherever this leads will lead to some interesting stuff down the line.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we can get into the more of the discussion meat that we already it looks like we're already making to the 30-minute mark. There's really, not to say there's not much story going on, but it's more like we're getting back into the fields, like you said. So nothing really important has happened unless it's in the first episode.
Yeah, because the first episode sets up Mando's current mission, which is to find Jedi. Well, first of all, to find Mandalorians that might help him trace where Jedi might be to help drop the Baby Yoda off. And it seems like these first couple episodes will be sort of him trying to get a Mandalorian contact, to hopefully that way he can bring Baby Yoda to safety. I think what could have maybe helped a little bit, hopefully they might do this in later episodes, is we get to see I forget his name, the Imperial officer at the end of the first season.
Yeah, it's skipping my tongue too.
It's a Grand Moff something, right?
Yeah, that's Tarkin.
Not Tarkin, obviously. Like the Grand Moff at the end of season 1, who has the dark saber, right? Like, it'd be interesting to see if we get like maybe in future episodes some shots of him sort of like trying to like find Mando, send other bounty hunters after him. Because I will say this, there is some bounty hunter action in the beginning of this episode because he's returning back from killing the Cage Dragon, getting Boba's armor and stuff like that, and he gets ambushed by some bounty hunters. So that's still a prevailing threat, obviously, because he's people want Baby Yoda for their own purposes, including the Imperial remnants. So I think it would be neat to see like a little bit of that sort of stuff, like maybe a little bit of sort of what the Grand Moff is planning, because we didn't really get a whole lot of that. Like the first season, like we know they want Baby Yoda for his force powers and do all these things. We don't exactly know why. Like, what's the end game, right? And so it would be interesting to maybe sort of see hints of that. I'm not saying just have like a full 5-minute like scene of him explaining his plan that's unrelated to the episode, but maybe like occasional sort of like kind of like sort of like little sort of cutaways.
You see him work. You see him planning.
Yeah, sort of like what's my next move kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't even have to be like during the episode. It could be like at the end of an episode kind of thing,
And you know what? You just gave me a theory, and I'm not gonna be mad if this happens. Maybe the reason he's having a hard time finding Mandalorians, it's either he's been hunting Mandalorians, or because as Kelvin explained to me one time, you can probably check that episode out because I'm pretty sure we recorded that.
Yeah.
He says whoever owns the dark saber basically has not full control. I think either full control or has influence over the Mandalorians because it's kind of like their Excalibur.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could be an interesting plot point, I guess. Sort of like the Grand Moff has been sort of using the dark saber's influence to sort of like, I don't know, maybe turn other Mandalorians against the Mando, right?
Mando.
Yeah.
He has a real name, I just can't remember what it is.
Yeah, he does have a real name. I think it's at near the end of the first season, but it's just sort of like, it's so cool to just call him Mando.
Yeah.
Because he's the Mandalorian.
He is the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And so we meet other Mandalorians.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that could be like an interesting sort of like plot to delve into. And maybe like Grand Moff finds Boba and sort of like offers him sort of like new armor to go after his old armor or something, because his old armor is obviously sentimental because it's Jango Fett's armor.
That is true.
So,
But is it? In Clone Wars,
I think the helmet should still be it, right? Or no?
Well, I could swear there was one episode in Clone Wars where he blew up that helmet as a trap for Mace Windu.
Okay.
Listen, there's a lot of Star Wars content. Sometimes it's like hard to pinpoint.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's sometimes hard for me to remember a lot of the expanded universe stuff. But yeah, no, I think that would be super interesting, right?
Yeah, no, I'm down. As I'm saying, that's my theory, and I'd be 100% down if either one of those two happens. I'd be happy if they did something else completely different, but as long as it feels impactful. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like these first two episodes, for episode 1, great. Episode 2,
I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Honestly, yeah, I would have to agree with that. 7 out of 10 sounds pretty accurate.
Which is weird because you and me sometimes would rarely agree on ratings.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I don't like to. I feel like when it comes to movie reviews, I'm a bit more harsher, I guess, because it's a once experience, right? You just sit down, watch the movie, come back out. But with like a lot of these sort of TV shows, especially it feels like because it's all building up to something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like rating the individual episodes on their own.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
No, well, no. I think it's more of a. It's more like sort of like on their own, they're nice, but when you put them all together and rate the actual series, it's sort of like oh, on its own, this episode's kind of weak, but when you put it together in the context of the series, it's like
it's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's like oh yeah, that makes sense.
It is the literal journey that every character has to take. It's not the destination; it's the journey.
Yeah, like it's sort of like oh yeah, like this episode might be weak in terms of the overall plot, but it's still like either it's like
all the Ant-Man movies in Marvel.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel when it comes to I think rating TV shows or at least episodes of TV. So
yeah, but it's weird how you're saying that it's more that's how you feel for movies and that's how you feel for TV, but like we're starting to blur that line nowadays with most TV.
Yeah, I feel like I think ever since.
Again, Game of Thrones.
Well, I would not only just Game of Thrones. I think even way farther the back, like stuff like The Sopranos and stuff, like and Breaking Bad. These shows that were sort of like had like these sort of like ability to present movie quality storylines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Game of Thrones sort of course, brought in sort of the more like, oh, here's what we can do on TV budgets now, and it's like, oh shit,
yeah,
all the CGI, all right, yeah. So
holy shit, that dragon looked real.
Yeah, so I think, all that stuff combined sort of like is sort of I guess blurring the line in terms of how we see films and movies, but I feel like still films are sort of usually these sort of big one-off sort of experiences, right? And TV shows sort of still offer that sense of a ongoing narrative that
it allows the narrative to breathe a bit.
Yeah, like you don't have to be contained by like a 2.5 hour runtime limit in a movie. You have 10 like 45 to 50 minute long episodes to fully explore these characters, like your characters, your storyline, all that stuff. And I think that's also like one of the reasons why Mando has been, been so treated so well in comparison to a bunch of other like Star Wars properties things that Disney's been made, because the people behind it have been given the time and the energy to just sort of like take their story and into the direction they want, and people like it. Yeah,
you're right. You're not wrong. I really like that idea, because like we're slowly getting to that point where they're both just entertaining.
I mean, yeah, it's I think there always will be differences to obviously differentiate the two mediums, but I mean, yeah, it is sort of like super weird to just see.
I will say this though: I wish the movies, the current movies, well, some of them had the quality of work that they put in for this one.
Yeah, at least in terms of story wise. I mean, visually, the new Star Wars movies look good, but I think it was never a question of whether they would look good. It was more like, can they continue the original trilogy storyline, or like, some to an effect, right?
I think what works is that there's at least a head, and there is at least a story that they want to tell.
Yeah, like there is sort of. I mean, obviously, when you go into TV shows, there's always sort of a rough outline of where you want your show to go, and
So I think that's all we got to say for this one. I think we're gonna wrap it up soon. I knew this wasn't gonna be a long episode. I think we're just barely reaching the 40-minute mark, which is fine for an episode.
Yeah, especially with I think when we discussed Watchmen, those episodes weren't like super long, but they were still like
pretty good.
Yeah, like because I feel like our format of sort of discussing the episode, maybe getting into spoilers sometimes, depending on how long it's been, and then sort of talking about like where we could go next and all that other stuff. It's a good format for us when talking about TV shows, and I'll be honest, it's nice to finally talk about some TV shows, and having stuff to watch, right? At least makes up for not having movie reviews.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of good TV always ends up being towards the end of the year.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, there's always somewhere in between gap, but there's usually kind of right now most of it's coming out at the end of the year. I think WandaVision is supposed to come out at the end of this year.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, WandaVision.
I think spring is
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
because I think they got back to filming that again like a couple weeks ago.
That one I'm very interested in from the rumors I've been hearing. But anyways, thank you guys for taking the chance to listen to us. If you will, I'd like to ask you guys to follow us on social media. We have a Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can look them all through at the Geek Centurions. If you go to Instagram, you'll be able to see our link tree, which has not only the links to the other, social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. We also have, links to somewhere where you can listen to our, to our voices, so to the podcast. With Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Castbox, all the podcast sites, you'll be able to find us there. And just when you're there, give us a rating, follow, download, whatever you can do to support us. Speaking of support, we also have a Patreon where you can at least offer us some little money. It could be big, it could be small. Either way, we humbly thank you for that kind of support. We also have a YouTube where you can, see our beautiful mugs.
Yeah.
Sure. And, when you're there, hit the bell icon, like, subscribe, comment, all the stuff that, you usually would do within YouTube. It helps us out a lot and, helps us grow. And if you guys want to know anything about us, you can always contact us through, again, social media, YouTube, anything, and we'll be happy to answer. If you got an idea for us to do, let us know. And, well, yeah, I think that's about it. So it's been your good old pal,
Joe.
And it's going to be good pal, Eli. So, yeah. Mandalorian's back. Like I said, we might do every 2 episodes. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I'm just happy to have Mando back.
Yeah.
Okay, but I still want that WandaVision, though.
Yeah, I mean, things are looking probably bright for Disney Plus.
Yeah, it took a while.
Well, to be fair, when your backlog is all like Disney movies and stuff, I think you're fine for a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. You need that Marvel and Star Wars too.
Yeah.
But you know what we need? Jeff Goldblum back.
Yeah, I think he only had 1 season of that show, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks, guys. Peace.